Okay, guys, today we are going to round out our chapter on area, topic 12, with composite figures. We are going to try to figure out the area of composite figures. Now, I want to kind of go back a little bit, to rewind back into time where we were talking about prime and composite, because the word composite is going to mean the same thing when we're talking about figures. Okay, our prime numbers were numbers that only had one in themselves, right? So just two factors. And an example was like the number 3 or 5. Okay, a composite number has more than two factors. An example would be like 6. The number 6 has 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So that's what makes 6 a composite number. So if you take that idea of being two or more, then you're talking about two or more figures or two or more shapes. So let's take a look at our monster house over here. I don't know if you noticed, it looks kind of scary, but I automatically see a bunch of figures there. I see a square right here. I see a trapezoid right here. Check out the chimney. It's a rectangle. Okay, I also see triangles for eyes. So we could sit here and we call that a composite figure because it's not just one shape. It's made up of, and I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 different shapes just in that one figure. So that's what we're doing today. We are taking a composite figure and we're breaking it down so that we can find the total area. So let's start with a really easy example. All right, so let's start with this nice and easy monster house right here. Okay? I know if I look on the FCAT reference sheet, I am not going to see the formula for the area of a house. Okay, it's just not there. So that's not going to be very helpful. So the reference sheet's only not going to be helpful for finding this particular shape. But what if we decided to break our shape into two shapes that we can see right off the bat? I don't know if you see, but I see right here, I see a rectangle. And I know it's a rectangle because the sides are not the same. Notice that this side here is 10 and this side here is 8. So this is my rectangle. So it's made up of rectangle as the bottom, which is 8. Oops, sorry, not 8. 10 by 8. And I don't know, do you guys see the top shape? The top shape, or the roof of our house, which I'll separate over here, is simply a triangle, and then we're going to put in the length of the slant. We're going to put in this length, which is 4, and then even though they didn't tell us what this length is right here, we know it's the same length as the bottom of our house, 10. Okay, so if I take them apart separately and calculate each area separately, I can then just go back and add the two areas, and now you found the area of our monster house. So what is the area of this rectangle? Well, our formula is base times height. I'm going to substitute in my base, which is 10, and my height, which is 8. And so the area for just the rectangular bottom of my house is 80 feet squared. So I'm going to write 80 in here. And I'm going to put a little feet in a squared if you can fit. All right, so I figured out that one. This one, let's do the math. Over here. My formula, if I look on my FCAT reference sheet, is the area equals the base times the height, all divided by 2. What is our base? Well, it's the same base as the house because the roof is the same length as the bottom of the house. So that's 10. Now, here's the tricky part. What is the height? Look for the T, and remember the slant we don't use, so the height here is 4. Divided by 2, you got to bring that down. Do our snow cones, so our area equals 40 divided by 2. And then if we did that math, it's 20, and that would be feet squared. So since I found them separately, I'm going to add them. I'm going to take my rectangle, and I'm going to add it to the square area to get my total area. My square area, I figured out, was 80. And my triangle area was 20. So the total is 120 feet squared for my very easy monster house. All right, let's actually do one more example. Okay, this is a much more complicated monster house because look, he's got a little sidekick over here. Okay, so this is our big monster house, and it's not that difficult because remember, we cannot find the formula for this thing located on our FCAT reference sheet. But if we break this whole thing apart into different figures, then you can solve it. So let's start with our big rectangle, which is right here. We did in red. So if we did this, we have to figure out what the dimensions are. So sometimes what you can do is you can put a big fat finger over the parts that you're not going to use. I can't do it here because I can't show you that, but if you were to cover up this guy in the trapezoid, you could easily see the rectangle like I've done here with the red. So we'll do it color-coded, that way you can see it. So let's start with the rectangle. The dimensions of this rectangle are 10 yards. Not by 20. 20 is this whole length here. But you already are given, if you look at the top here, 12 is the top, so it's going to be the same as the bottom. So we could write 12 here and put 10 over here. And remember, it's area equals the base times the height. Area equals 10. Excuse me, that's not the base. Base is what? Oh, yes, you guys caught me. 12, and the height is 10. So if we did this math, it's 120 yards squared. So let's just go ahead and write that in there. 120 yards. 2. All right, now let's use blue, and we'll do the trapezoid, the roof of the house. Okay, so this trapezoid, that's one of those formulas that's hard to remember. So go to your FCAT reference sheet and write that down. Remember that it's area equals the height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. Right? Now I have to figure out all the sides. I have 8 on the top, 12 on the bottom. I'm not even going to look at that slant. And then I'm going to do my height of 5. So if I plug in my numbers, we'll do that now. My height is 5. My base 1 is 12 plus 8, all divided by 2. Snow cones, or PEMDAS, Mr. PEMDAS tells us to do the 12 plus 8 first. So I bring everything else down, divided by 2. Okay, area is going to equal 100, divided by 2. So the area of my trapezoid is 50 yards squared. Alright, so we have our rectangle and our trapezoid. Now we'll finish out the figure, and I'll use purple for this little guy right here. He's going to be the toughest to figure out because notice that there are no lengths written in, but we can figure them out if we really think about it. So here is our last rectangle. Alright, if we know the full length of this is 20, and we know that from here to here is 12, then from here to here has to be 20 minus 12, which equals 8. So this is 8, and this is 8. Okay, so I have my base. Same thing with the side. Notice they give us this length right here. They say that this little bit right here is 2. So if the whole thing from here all the way down is 10, and I get that from this side, okay, if it's 10, then if you take away the 2, then this has to be 10 minus 2, which is 8. So it's actually a perfect square. All right, so I took the 10, which comes from the length of the big rectangle. I took out the 2 that was given from us right here, and 10 minus 2 equals 8. So that length of the side is 8. That's where I got it. One more time. All right, so area equals base times height. Area equals, they're both the same, so 8 times 8. And that's going to be 64 yards squared. So now I have all three of my figures. I'm going to add them up. So I'm going to do that over here in green, so that you can see what they all are added up together. I have a rectangle plus a trapezoid plus the square. The rectangle was 120. The trapezoid was 50. And the square was 64. So if I add all these together, I'll do snow cones because that's a little bit easier to do here. And then finally add this together, I'm going to have 4 and 13 carry 1, 234 yards squared is our total area of our big monster house. Alright, so I don't expect you to get this right away, but you can keep playing the video over and over again so you can see how I broke it out by its shapes. And that's all you really need to do is break it out and then solve each shape separately. If you want to label them A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, whatever you need to do, but you break them out. So take your notes and answer the questions at the end, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.